Of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant has detected a record level of radioactive cesium in groundwater.
Areas in our state that was found to have high nitrate levels in its groundwater.
China's cities have significant groundwater pollution.
Suspicions of groundwater pollution caused by copper mining.
Concentration of nitrate contamination.
Contaminated water at the nuclear plant.
Water can cause health problems.
Groundwater
Groundwater is highly useful and plays a vital role in our lives and in our environment. It is used for agricultural, ecological, industrial, and municipal purposes. However, groundwater is very susceptible to the different man-made contaminations and pollutions which make it impure and unsafe for humans. Join us as we discover how groundwater contamination greatly affects our lives.
And all that blue stuff you see on the globe. The water we can see on the surface of the Earth is surface water. Surface water is every lake, pond, river, stream, and ocean on Earth. But in the ground below your feet, there's even more water, groundwater. Groundwater is water that's crammed in the tiny gaps between rocks, soils, and sediments under the ground. When it rains, some water gets soaked up by plants. Other water gets stuck on the surface and eventually evaporates back into the air. Meanwhile, some of the lucky water droplets get to travel down through the surface deep underground until they reach the water table.
Hydraulic fracturing is a well stimulation technique in which rock is fractured by a hydraulically pressurized liquid through which natural gas, petroleum, and brine will flow more easily. In the fracturing process, chemicals such as heavy metals, VOCs, plasticizers, and surfactants can be found in the fracturing solid. Due to extreme pressures and corrosiveness, toxic fluid expands fractures in shale, so they tend to retrieve the fracturing fluid from the shale, but only 25% to 50% of this is recovered during this process. Poor lining practices allow pits to leak, which results for the water to be contaminated with contaminants such as manganese, barium sulfate, arsenic, glycol compounds, and many more. Improper or insufficient cement casing leads to methane leaks, and from this, the dissolved methane enters residents, which is the water used by families in their everyday living.
PAH is what we call the polyaromatic hydrocarbons. So, PAH is classified as a persistent organic pollutant. So it means that it's there already. Once it leaches out of the sewerage system or into the tanks that containing our potable water, then it can also contaminate our water. The effect of this one if it reaches our biological system. As I have mentioned earlier, aside from it is carcinogenic, mutagenic, and at the same time teratogenic, it is also something that can cause genotoxicity, meaning it can affect your gene. There is a mutation that's happening in the gene, and at the same time, it is pre-neoplastic. What does it mean? It encourages the formation of cancer cells in your body. Another example of this one, under this one, is what you call your benzoapyrene. Benzoapyrene is the largest class of your PAH. No? Once it inserts itself in the DNA strand, when replication comes or duplication of your DNA happens, it will be thwarted or it will be blocked at that region where your polyaromatic or your benzoapyrene intercalates. No? That's the reason why stopping DNA replication and stopping the gene expression as well. And it can also be a substance that can trigger the formation of cancer cell that later on will develop into tumor. So it means that it might produce something that is an aberration in the system, or it can produce something that is very essential for the physiologic function of the body. For example, if pregnant women are exposed to this one, from cigarette smoking or the PAH or the benzoapyrene leaks in the water system and you ingest it, then the baby will suffer on this one. It can cause genotoxicity, it can abort the pregnancy, that's one thing. Or if the baby was born, there is some aberration, malformation for this one. They can have teratogenic effect, the lost limbs, okay? Upper and lower limbs, we call it amelia and pocomelia. And it is found out in the studies that if these babies are exposed to this one, they will also suffer from anxiety and depression. There are studies that shows that these kids that are exposed to this one will have high level of anxiety and depression. So meaning they will become later on psychotics, just like the people that you can see in the mental hospitals now.
Water is the Earth's most valuable resource. Everything in this world depends on it. Humans cannot live without it. But all through these years, we've been taking it for granted, without thinking that it can vanish from this world. With our every abusive action towards our environment, we contribute to this catastrophe, and we caused the problem. It's not only one person who will be affected. It can be hundreds, thousands, and even every one of us. We must be the solution. Each one of us has his own duty, but all of us have a common agenda, and it is to live. And in order for us to live, we must take our responsibilities to the things that sustain our life. We do have our own choices of what to do in this world, but let us remind ourselves that these natural resources wouldn't stay the same forever.